You wanted to see me, my liege? King Charles XII was brought out of his musings by one of the lower-ranking officers of the army. The man's hat held to his chest as the king bade him enter. "Ah, yes, come in. I've been hearing of talk among the men. Discontent. Do you know what this might be about?" Well, Your Highness, there's something that all of us have been feeling. An overwhelming influence that has been impacting morale. This caused the king to widen his eyes just a bit. This unnatural influence was more widespread than he had feared. But he didn't dwell on it much, as the officer continued. This, along with other events, such as a damn moon appearing in the sky, have made us wonder if it is God's will we are carrying out. And just what do you mean by that? Could it be possible that a more sinister force has used our faith to carry out its own will? Oh, the audacity of this man! To suggest that a devil would be able to deceive them. To deceive him! And yet, it made too much sense. Why would God allow a place such as this to even exist? Why did he not task his angels with this duty instead of so many bands of mere mortals? I need time to think about this. For now, though, we will continue our hunt for the renegade Silex. As if summoned by this final declaration, a soldier quickly showed up and interjected in the conversation. "My liege, scouts have returned with news. They found Silex roaming with a band of demons." Fortunately, it did not take long to find Silex and this band of demons, tracking their location to a ruined stone shrine just a few minutes' march from the fort. The shrine itself was surrounded by two sections of crumbling walls and was littered with flecks of some gold substance. 3 statues of angels were situated around the shrine, one on the north side where he and his army were at, and the other 2 on the south side where his objective lay. For a brief moment, he thought to himself, perhaps battle would not be necessary. Maybe a mere show of force would be enough to cow them. But he quickly shot down that idea. For the sheer bulk of the demons and the quality of their armor proved that they were warriors to be reckoned with. And since no loyal servant of God would be making peace with demons, that left only one option. So with a signal from the king, one of the soldiers took aim with his musket and fired. And just like that, the battle began, with the king being quick in his commands. "Captain, take a detachment and advance on the center. The rest of you, with me! We'll go around and hit them in the flank!" With the efficiency and discipline the Caroleans were known for, the army began to move. The captain and 3 others moved towards the shrine, only to be met by return fire. Arrows fit for ancient ballistae shot forward, piercing the captain and pinning him to the wall as he died instantly. Soon after, one of the demon archers rolled forward and dispatched the cavalry with another arrow before the dead trees obstructed the king's view. His thoughts then rest on his own actions. They were doing their part, and it was up to him to ensure their deaths would not be in vain. So with a breath to steady himself, he let loose a final command. Charge! The main force circled around the final tree, coming into range of 3 of the demons. The plan had worked! King Charles quickly capitalized on their confusion, drawing his pistol and shooting the leader. What followed was a storm of blade and bullet which tore the 3 apart. And just like that, the battle was over. The archers were forced to retreat, only able to retrieve the body of their leader in their haste. Jubilation filled all their hearts, even that of the king, despite the fact he was still lecturing himself for letting his emotions get the better of him earlier. Victory was theirs, Silex was secure, and once the dead were gathered, at a surprisingly low cost. Morale could not be higher, but before anything else could take place, King Charles still had an agreement to uphold. Those outerless bastards! Naoki thought to herself as she dragged the ailing Kaeda and what remained of Norio away from that damned place, panting heavily from the effort. We did not want to fight when we approached that place. It was a possibility, sure, but we simply wished to pass through. But those gutless wretches, in their infinite cowardice, simply shot at us like feral beasts. No warning, no chance to confer, to warn. Cowards! All of them! She picked up the pace, anger pushing her forward. When the first volley failed, they rode out. I assumed it was to talk, perhaps. Apologize, even. But we were fools. They had gathered their forces and barreled towards Silex. Silex! She was never close to the man, but she was warming to him, just like the others. But he was gone now. Lost, like the remains of Gorsuro and Jorishi, to those spineless dogs. Replaced only by painful memories. The memories of them lit a fire under her. Gritting her teeth, she dragged the others forward, despite the pain. They were runty, even for humans, and dressed in silly outfits. And their lord, their oh-so-contemptible lord, just sat there, sneering, not even lifting a finger as greater warriors and people than he were killed. She was slowing down now. She would show them what it means to be a samurai, an Ogroni, and a warrior of the shogunate. She'll march up to that despicable bastard, rip the empty head from his shoulders, tear out his bones, and beat the rest of them to death for what they did to Jorishi and Goruso and... She collapsed to her knees, her legs failing, and she fought back a torrent of tears. She had watched them die, in stunned silence, as a blade gouged out Goruso's throat, as a hail of shot ripped her best friend apart, and those utter bastards tore down the closest thing she had to a family for the past number of years. And what did she do as the humans ran after their prize and Kaeda stumbled after her, sickly and coughing up blood? She grabbed what she could and ran to who knows where. Some samurai she was. She was pathetic, unworthy. If she had any honor, she would... A pained noise, somewhere between a groan and a gurgle, escaped Norio's twitching form, bringing Naoki to her senses. He was alive. It was a miracle, she thought, letting out a long sigh. They will pay for this. Even if it costs me my life, they would pay, she thought, steeling herself for what was to come. The willow looked better under Celine's light. The shadows it cast across the large clearing's floor were perfectly aesthetic and shifted slowly as the wind blew through the branches. She stepped out of her courtier, keeping it by her side as she approached a small black pool at the tree's roots. It had been many days since she had risen from it, followed by her war machine. Since then, she had walked upon ancient temples, stalked the moors, spoken with foreign royalty, obliterated his enemies, slaughtered titans, torn the sky open, and filled it with her Celine, and tamed the hunger of the trees. Hopefully she would soon speak with Silex, and conclude her business in this realm. She laid a hand on the willow, feeling the flow of rift stuff and what some would call divinity within it. She had expected to feel hunger too, for the bark to erupt with teeth and devour her, or at least try to. But a realization came to her. These hungering woods, filled with teeth and bones and great beasts, were her Fangmoor. Of course they were. This realm was unrefined and primarily composed of pure rift stuff, shaped by the perceptions of those who stalk the trees. That simply wouldn't do. Perhaps she should exert a little divinity of her own. Let her will flow through the willow and become manifest. A new mantle would be necessary. The Fangmoor would not accept a moonchild. Her courtier drew from its cockpit a helmet, once a predatory skull taken from the forest and nurtured with her blood. A thing from the Void Sea had grown on it, and been shaped by the forges of Celine into an appropriate mix of beastly mask and crown. She lifted it from the beast's mechanical grasp and submerged it in the black pool. Feeling the biting cold which pierced her skin and chilled her bones, she withdrew the helmet and pulled it over her head. Hermetic seals engaging and the HUD flaring to life. She turned to the willow. When she spoke, her voice was the wind through its branches, a wind which swept through the pines and brought royally decreed shape to form this rift stuff. The Fangmoor is a place of predators and prey. Black hounds stalk the trees and consume those who cower in its glades. Ancient temples cut away and cannibalize divine influence. Even the trees are predators. I speak not of the false god trees which feign power, but the ancient groves of this realm. Logic and law dissolve into dream in favor of the hunt. This is a world of unparalleled hunger. This is a world with teeth. Across the clearing, something like a grand boar is chased through the tree line by a pack of hounds. The Moonchild, or perhaps Lady Hattie of Celine, returns to her palace to prepare for her guests, be they Oni, man, or god.